Well, welcome to day one of our two-day short course on Geo-Thermo-Petro-Chronology. This short course is offered in association with the National GSA meeting in October of 2021. As you know, we have 2 days of information to present. You see the names of the presenters here for day one and day two. My name is George Garrels. We're going to do some short introductions here as we introduce each of the different presenters. And we'll also meet the participants in this short course in just a few minutes. But let me start off by presenting a little bit of background about this. We are geochronologists at the University of Arizona, and we're supported by the National Science Foundation to do geochronology on our own research projects, to help other people with the geochronology that they need for their projects, and also to lead various training and education and outreach activities. So this is one of those educational opportunities that we do. We have done this every year for the past 12 years. We've been doing this in association with national GSA meetings now since at least 2010. And each year we do something a little bit different. This is the first time we've ever done this combination of chronometers. Commonly, we focus just on uranium, thorium, lead geochronology, mainly for detrital applications. And this year we're going to include a whole range of other information about chronology. So let me start off by telling you that we are super excited about presenting this information to you because we're super excited about the potential of using geochronology to address a wide range of problems in earth sciences. And let me just give you a little bit of a historical perspective here. Going back a few years, there was a white paper written called It's About Time. This was published in 2015, and this was a community effort to try to describe why geochronology was so important for research in earth sciences. This was submitted to the National Science Foundation just to show them all of the opportunities that we have looking forward in geochronology and some of the challenges that we have in providing the geochron that our various communities need. And NSF did respond to our report, and they have provided support for various aspects of geochronology since that time, kind of additional support. This theme was also picked up in a recent publication called Earth in Time. This was put together by the National Academy of Sciences. This was a decadal summary submitted to the Earth Sciences Division of the National Science Foundation. And in this volume, which you can download for free, the National Academy Committee identified 11 sort of key science questions. And these ranged all the way from the core to the clouds. All different aspects of earth sciences were emphasized in this report. And it was noticed by the committee members and by many people in the community and NSF that geochronology was fundamental to future research in every one of these science questions. And so one of the recommendations made by this committee in this report is that the National Science Foundation should create a national geochronology consortium. And by that, it was meant that geochronology labs would be supported to work together to try to improve the access to geochronology, as well as the quality of geochronology provided to different research communities. So that is now taking on a new life. There's a proposal that has been submitted to the National Science Foundation to create what we call a geochronology access and innovation network. And mostly what this is a series of workshops that we hope, if this proposal is supported, will provide opportunities for researchers to try to figure out how best National Science Foundation can serve geochronologists and the researchers and students who need geochronology. And as you can see on our Venn diagram here, these are all the subdisciplines that we've identified that geochronology is really essential for research in those areas. So hopefully this will be an opportunity for you to engage in the conversation for how we can do geochronology in a way that that really opens up opportunities for many different researchers to acquire the geochronology that they need. Another great sort of new opportunity for you to become involved in these conversations is through the Geochronology division of the GSA. This is one that was just started a couple of years ago. We currently have 525 members belonging to this division, mostly students, but We're hoping to grow this number. It only costs, I think, $10 to add a new division. So if you're not a member of GSA, Geochron Division, please join us up. And we have lots of different science kind of based activities, but we're also interested in building diversity, equity, and inclusion in geochronology, supporting the people who produce geochronology and use geochronology in their research. And we also try to emphasize all of the different aspects of geochronology. Uranium, lead, and argon geochron has received most of the attention during recent years in terms of research publications and productivity, but we're trying to emphasize the power of all these different chronometers. Every one of these is essential for future research in earth sciences. And so we're trying to support the development of every one of these different geochronologic methods and techniques. So one of the reasons that geochronology is so important is that I think we are in the midst of what I would call and what many would call a revolution in geochronology. Geochronology is just exploding in the types of new types of analyses that can be done, the applications that can be done, the precision, the accuracy, the spatial resolution. And one of the reasons why we're having this revolution is that we have some great new instruments that are coming online that allow us to do this research better and better. And so in my expertise, uranium lead geochronology, these are the four main instruments that people use. We can use secondary ionization mass spectrometers, these giant machines here, which have amazing spatial resolution. We can use thermal ionization mass spectrometers, which have amazing precision and accuracy. We can use high resolution ICP mass spectrometers, which are very efficient instruments. And we can use quadrupoles, which are very fast scanning, can look at not just geochronologic information, but also geochemical information. And so these instruments are all very powerful tools. And I think nowadays researchers in uranium lead geochronology think that it's a very powerful aspect to have these different instruments, each of which is really well tuned for a particular type of analysis. So it's the instruments. This is kind of a new thing, the cyber infrastructure that we use, the software that we use for acquiring and interpreting geochronology. And I know this is a very complicated diagram, but kind of in terms of a workflow for a research project, you can imagine that we start off going out in the field and collecting samples, and we have some geological context that goes with those samples. We then go to the middle of the diagram, we go to laboratories, and just some examples here of different laboratories doing different kinds of methods, producing different kinds of data that comes out of that laboratory analyses. And then, of course, what we want to do is we want to end up with that information being published in the published literature, maybe some data tables that come out with these papers. And nowadays, so important, we want the data to be available in databases. You know, data, if it doesn't appear in the published literature, if it's not available in databases, it really does not help the community very much at all. So we're trying to streamline this pipeline of how we take metadata from the field, data from the laboratories, and put all that data together and make it publicly accessible in a way that everybody has access to it. And as you can imagine, this is a world that's changing very rapidly right now. So this is another kind of key aspect of the geochronology revolution. And then number 3 here, I would say that the applications of geochronology are just exploding right now. There are techniques that can take us all the way from very high temperatures here, record geological processes operating at 1,000 degrees, 1,100 degrees, kind of igneous processes, lower crustal mantle processes. And there are chronometers you can see in different color bars here that take us through kind of middle temperatures and pretty much all the way to the surface. And so we have an amazing range of geochronologic techniques that can be used to answer different kinds of questions. So, for example, in the past, you can imagine that geochronology would have been used maybe to date the age of the granites here in Yosemite Valley in California. So for sure, geochronology crystallization ages of these rocks. But also thermochronology is important, the temperature history of this granite as it rose from emplacement level up to the surface. It became cooler and cooler. What's the history of that cooling? Well, these middle temperature chronometers might be really helpful for thermochronology. And nowadays we can use cosmogenic isotopes to say something about when this granite was first exposed at the Earth's surface, exposed to sunlight. We have chronometers that can record that. Imagine the sediments here in the floor of Yosemite Valley. We have detrital chronometers that can tell us something about the provenance of that sediment, the depositional age of that sediment. And then now we also have chronometers that we can apply to water. What is the source of this water? What is the residence time of that water? We call these hydro chronometers. And so there's a whole different type of chronometers. And this is one of the powerful aspects of this revolution right now. We can go all the way from the base of the crust in the mantle all the way up to the Earth's surface, recording processes that have taken place through time. Another aspect of geochronology that's just exploding right now is the realization that rocks contain many different minerals, which are really important for geochronology. So imagine an igneous rock, sedimentary materials, a metamorphic rock. There's a whole range of different minerals here that can be dated, that can provide time information. So we can call these, we can imagine that these minerals are maybe time capsules. But these minerals also contain lots of other information that can say something about the geochemistry, the temperature of crystallization, the pressure of crystallization, the presence of a magnetic field at the time that these minerals were forming, the carbon isotopes that can be used to say something about biogenic processes, oxygen isotopes, lithium isotopes that can say something about fluids in the rock at the time they were crystallized or post-crystallization. So all of these other geochemical techniques can be applied to those same minerals. So these minerals are not just time capsules. We can think of them as being sort of crystal messengers that come from deep in time, deep in the earth, and they bring us information about processes that have operated through Earth history. And this is one of the techniques that we refer to nowadays as petrochronology, the chronology of the whole rock, not just the individual geochronologic minerals. So those are the reasons we're so excited about doing this short course today. And let me just briefly introduce some of the different presenters who you will see. So my name is George Garrels here. I'm a geochronologist at the University of Arizona. My interest is mostly in uranium-lead geochronology. You will also hear from Wei Allen, who is a geochronologist in our laboratory at the University of Arizona. She'll be presenting today. Sarah George, you probably know Sarah George because she has provided a lot of the materials for you. A lot of the organization of the short course has come from Sarah's efforts, and she'll be presenting some of the modules today. Kurt Sundell, formerly a postdoc at the Arizona Laserchron Center, the laboratory that I operate. Now a professor at Idaho State University. He'll be talking mostly about cyber infrastructure that we use in our laboratory, the Arizona Laserchron Center. In day 2, you'll be hearing about researchers from the Arizona Heavy Isotope Lab. This is Mauricio Ibanez Mejia, and he'll be talking about petrochronology. Pete Reiners and Alan Shane here. Pete is a professor. Alan Shane is a postdoc, senior researcher, and they operate the Arizona Noble Gas Lab, and they'll be talking about argon isotopes and helium isotope thermochronology. So you'll hear more from these different people as they start doing their presentations today. Let me also just kind of give you all an opportunity to introduce yourselves. And so we won't do this now, but at some point we'll have a chance for all of the participants for this short course to say a little bit about their name, their position, their institution, and their interests in geochronology. And let me just show you, we're not going to work through this, but let me show you very quick. This is the flow through day 1 with some of the timing that we have here, the main topics that we'll be covering, the initials of the people who will be presenting these. Same thing for day 2 here, all the different techniques that we're going to be covering during day 2. And let me just point out that all of these sessions are being recorded. And so on Zoom, you'll be able to pull up the recordings of each of these different sessions afterward. We also have a file where we will be loading up all of the PowerPoint modules that go with these different presentations. And all of this information is going to be available from the Arizona Laserchron webpage. You can just do a search on the word Laserchron and get to this information. And this information is completely open access. You can use it however you want, studying for a class or presenting a class, geochronologic information in a class. You're welcome to use this information. and it's going to be on the Arizona Laserchron webpage. So that's my quick introduction, and let's go ahead and jump in. We'll go to the next module here, which is first one,